So, we have got our first glimpse of official IndyCar gaming from Motorsports Games. This is the R Factor 2 IndyCar update, and surprisingly, there's a lot of cars, and B, there are some 2022 liveries that you may have not seen before. Yeah. So, this is a bit of a departure, but literally what I'm going to do is look at each of the cars in this DLC, which is paid. You have to pay like $5 if you already have R Factor 2 to get this. And we're going to get a bit of a 2022 IndyCar preview. And I'm sure eventually I will try the actual driving. But right now, we're just focusing on new stuff. So here's Joseph Newgarden's Hitachi car. Not really a shock, to be honest with you. This has been a staple in IndyCar racing for the better part of a half decade at this point. In fact, probably closer now to a decade, now that I think about it. The cool thing about R Factor 2, and a detail that I appreciate, is that they not only have the road course arrow, but as you're seeing now, they have the short oval arrow, which as far as I'm concerned is the best looking of all the arrow configurations for IndyCar. You also have an oval configuration and an Indy 500 configuration, which I believe is only the red wall tires. Now what's interesting is they also have a skin editor, and I wonder if you can do some really wacky things with this. Oh yeah. Yes, you can. So if you were curious, oh no, oh this is going to be a disaster. So if you were curious, you can really cause some issues with the liveries here. Oh dear God, what are we doing? What am I doing? So yeah, there you go. So that's Joseph Newgarden's car, and those are all the customization options with the cars. I don't think I need to do that again. But we will be checking this as we go along to see if there's any other liveries included with the other drivers. So here's a fan favorite livery. This is Scott McLaughlin's Pennzoil Yellow Submarine. Nothing particularly different on any of the Penske cars. Not that we expected anything different this year. I guess it's good to have this come back. Let's have a look real quick and see if there's any additional liveries. There are not, although of course we know Scott McLaughlin generally changes his livery virtually every race when he races in IndyCar. So here's another car that has been a staple in IndyCar the last few years, and it is the K-Line number 4 for Dalton Kellet. The only difference I see on this car is an extra sponsor right here on the side of the cockpit. Outside of that, this is virtually the same as it has been since 2020, but yeah, there you go. So here's Pato Awards McLaren, Aero McLaren SP number 5. Appears to be almost identical as last year's. The only thing I would say that stands out to me as being different, of course assuming that this is a 2022 livery, is this electrolyte sponsor on the back, or electrolyte, I don't know how you say that. Virtually everything else is the same. Now, if you see McLaren on the side, and we'll talk about this when we get to the Felix Rosenquist car, if it says McLaren on the side of it, that means Views will be there. So you can imagine Views will be on the front wing, and Views will be on the rear wing as well. So if you watch my channel, you have already seen this car because it was testing at Sebring early in the year. This is Elio Castroneves, number 6, Meyershank Racing Sirius XM AutoNation Arctic Wolf car. The difference between this car and last year's car, there's very little. Obviously the Arctic Wolf is new, and I think there's an extra sponsor there. I'm not really sure what that is. And then you've got this little bit of a design detail here where they bring these white stripes up the nose. But again, outside of that, very similar to what you have already seen last year. And again, if you saw my Sebring testing footage, you have already seen this car. Now, one thing I do have observed about the Meyershank racing cars, and maybe we'll point it out when we get to Pagenaud's car, is that the Meyershank cars are actually two slightly different shades of pink. So I wonder if R Factor 2 has modded that. So here's another car that's very, very familiar because it's almost exactly the same as it was last year. It's Felix Rosenquist's McLaren, Aero McLaren SP. I keep saying that, but McLaren is the majority owner of Aero McLaren SP now, so I guess it's okay to call it a McLaren. Again, only difference between this and what you would probably see in real life is that the McLaren logos will be replaced by views. Do you vape, bro? I don't know. This car doesn't. Husky chocolate car, same thing, same deal as many of these cars, consistent. It's the same as it was last year. You'll be able to find Marcus Ericsson, and I gotta tell you, there's always something very good about a Ganassi car in red. Now, the one thing I will say, and I've just noticed, is that the number on the nose looks absolutely massive. We'll see if that's a change for this year. That's the first I've noticed of it. Perhaps because I'm not sure. Well, because we've been in single number cars. So maybe just Ganassi's like, we're just going to put a big boy number on there and you're going to see the number from space. Interesting strategy. So here's an iconic one. Scott Dixon, PNC Bank. It's really only been around for a few years, but I think it's one of the best liveries in IndyCar. The only difference is that they're going back to the PNC Bank logo on the side versus the Grow Up Great or whatever charity that PNC Bank was pushing there for a year and a half. So that's the big difference with this, and I believe this is exactly how the car will appear next year. Or this year. It's not next year, it's 2022 already. So there's definitely some mixing of 2021 liveries into this DLC pack, and I've got it on pretty good authority that this is not necessarily going to be how the NTT data car looks in 2022. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see it run once or twice or maybe a few times, and maybe that's why it's in the DLC. But Alex Palou certainly had a different suit at the media day, so I would say expect a little bit more orange, maybe a little bit more dark blue on this car. But we'll have to see. The only giveaway that may be there, and I'm looking because on the nose, was this sponsor there last year? I don't know. Maybe this is an early season 2022 Alex Palou car. It's really tough. It's really tough to tell, honestly. These NTT cars, they all start kind of looking all alike, especially when they paint them blue like this. So we're about to get to this year's Spotter's Nightmare, and here's the first car that looks almost identical to another car. This is Tatiana Calderon's Rocket, AJ Foyt Racing, Chevrolet. Cool. It looks exactly the same as this, which is Kyle Kirkwood's number 14 Rocket, AJ Foyt Racing, Chevrolet. I hope they have some spotters taped down in Texas. Maybe a little bit of coyote red on the car, especially the 14 car. I feel like that's appropriate. Cross my fingers, and certainly praying for the spotters this year. So here's a car, another one that I'm slightly skeptical will still be the livery for this year, because this is the Bobby Rahal tribute livery, the old Miller Lite scheme, easy for me to say. However, I'm pretty sure the Quartz engine oil, which I believe is a Total product, I don't think was on the car last year. So there seem to be some new sponsors here. Maybe Graham Rahal is sticking with this livery. And certainly when we get to it, Christian Lundgaard's car looks very similar to this. So maybe they are sticking with the Bobby Rahal 1998 livery. But the other thing about this car is this is an inaccuracy with the mod. The Rahal team uses OZ wheels. They got that right. But they actually do a silver outline. So this kind of aerodynamic bit around the outside of the wheel is silver. and that's just how Rahal has always run their wheels. So, yeah, that's just an inaccuracy. I don't expect that Rahal is going to start running black wheels all of a sudden. So here is the only Dale Coyne racing car in this mod. For some reason, they have forgotten that Takuma Sato exists. So we have David Malukas, who is another guy, and I say this about almost every rookie in this year's IndyCar series, a highly touted rookie who is, again, driving for Dale Coyne Racing, the number 18 car, the former Vassar Sullivan car. This is no longer a Vassar Sullivan car. I believe it's Dale Coyne Racing with HMD, which, of course, is a trucking company which David's father owns. If you blink at this car, you may think it's a Jimmy Johnson Carvana car, but this is Connor Daly's Bitnile car for not AJ Foyt, Ed Carpenter Racing. This was the sponsor that kind of saved Connor Daly's career, to be quite honest with you. Certainly a popular choice for Ed Carpenter to continue on his partnership with Connor Daly. And yeah, this is one of the truly new liveries that you get to experience in this mod. But again, certainly very, very, very Carvana-like to my eye. Yeet! This is Rinus VK's car. This is also definitely Rinus VK's 2021 car. Do you know how I know that? Have you figured it out yet? It's because of the U.S. Air Force sponsorship. I'd be very, very surprised after the fairly public split. Not that it wasn't amicable, but it was a very public split between the Air Force and Ed Carpenter Racing, that they would not only stick with the team, but they would sponsor the Dutch driver. I just don't see that happening. So I highly suspect this is the 2021 livery, unless I'm very much mistaken, and Air Force is on Rinus VK's car. But I would also say that I would be surprised if the 2022 livery deviates very much from this. So I passed over some generic IndyCar liveries that are also included to show you the Chungus Mobile. And the number one thing I have noticed that Andretti Autosport has changed for this year is the number font. The number font is the same as it was on the Andretti Steinbrenner racing car of James Hinchcliffe last year. So they have gotten rid of what was the traditional Andretti font, which probably dates back to, 2013? And before that, they were using the old Team Green font. So this is, I believe, the third font change for Andretti Autosport in team history. And the only, or not the only other difference, but the other major difference I can tell, and the reason I can definitely tell you that this is for sure a 2021 livery, is the HPD on the fin. It seems like all the Honda teams are running some variation of that this year. So you're either going to love this one or you're going to hate this one, but this is Alexander Rossi's 2022 livery, first revealed in R Factor 2. I mean, it could be worse, I think. I think that the blue and the pink certainly they're not bad colors to see together. I mean, you think back to like Scott Brayton's Amway car, that kind of, there's a bit of that vibe. Certainly the blue is a lot darker than it was on that car, and the pink's not quite as fluorescent. I think the big problem is the yellow Napa logo. It just kind of clashes with the pink, I think. But again, I also think that they didn't want to do the livery wrap changes anymore, and since Alexander Rossi has two primary sponsors, they did a split livery, and this is the result. So this is how you get a driver to the track. You have to pay for it somehow, and it seems as though Andretti Autosport decided that this was the most efficient way to get all of the partners involved for the entire season. So if you want Alexander Rossi on the track, I guess you have to look at this car, whether you like to look at this car or whether you don't like to look at this car. I think it looks okay. In fact, hold on. We need to see this, because Rossi... Oh, I don't know. Oh, wait a second, boys. I may be changing my mind. I was like, oh, it'll look fine on the oval kit. Yeah, this one will look for sure better on the road courses than it will on the ovals. Oh no. Here's another one that you would have known if you were watching my channel, because Andretti Autosport revealed this livery way back in October at the rookie orientation test for Romain Grosjean. And of course, this is Romain Grosjean, the Phoenix. Are you tired of hearing that? You're going to hear it a lot more this year. The new 28 looks quite interesting with the new number font and the DHL stripes through it. There's some subtle differences, as you can see, with the yellow stripes on the rear wing, or the front wing, and the red stripes on the rear wing. And there's some other kind of, I mean, I don't know how else to say it, flame sort of, the side pod here sort of invokes flames in some way, I would say. I have to believe that's intentional. And certainly Roman has embraced the Phoenix role that he is, and certainly it's a good marketing tool for him. So the DHL car actually quite a bit different this year. It probably won't look all that different at speed from what Ryan Hunter-Reay had run in the past, but yeah, it's different enough to my eye for sure. Well, if you watched the Rolex 24 at Daytona, you really couldn't avoid this car. It was very bright, and it won the race. So this is Devlin DeFrancesco's Andretti Autosport with Steinbrenner Racing. I believe that's all of the names associated with this team. I could be wrong. There could be more. Yeah, certainly a little bit of Menard vibes, the old Glidden paint schemes back in the day. Some fairly big sponsors actually on this car if you take a look at it. Jones Soda Company and Kimoa, which is Fernando Alonso's clothing company, are the ones that stand out to me on this car. But yeah, and I will tell you, I think you guys are gonna talk about Devlin DeFrancesco. I'll put it that way. I think he's gonna really make quite a splash in IndyCar, and you know, I think he's, you know, if on the scale of Canadians in IndyCar racing, you got Scott Goodyear on one side and Paul Tracy on the other. I definitely think Devlin falls more on the Paul Tracy side, and I'm saying that in a good way. I think he's going to be a firebrand, and again, I think we're going to be talking about him a lot. One final detail I want to mention about the Andretti cars is, again, slight inaccuracy on the wheels. These front wheels, Andretti does not run OZs. They run BBS wheels, which are the old, if you look at the Panos DP01, they are the Champ Car wheels. They only run them on the fronts, and sometimes because the valve stem is actually exposed versus this plate, this aerodynamic plate kind of covering it up on the OZ wheels, when Andretti cars run into side-to-side contact, particularly on street circuits, a lot of times you'll see the valve stem break on those wheels, and then the tire will fail. Interesting little bit of technical knowledge for those of you out there. Christian Lundgart. This is the Shield Cleansers car from last year, but I can tell you that this is for sure a 2022 livery, despite not having HPD on the fin. It has it on the rear wing. Mac Tools is, I believe, a new sponsor for Rahal this year, and you can also see Hyvee on the aero screen. So, again, they went, R Factor decided to put the silver rims on this car. Closer, but still no cigar. It's still not the half-and-half rims, which Rahal Letterman runs. But I guess this is confirmation, in some ways, that the Rahal team will continue with the Bobby Rahal tribute liveries. And now for something very new, which is the Hyvee livery for this year. This is Jack Harvey. All black car with red accents. Typically, this is a hard combination to read sponsors on track. I'm going to hold out hope, or I'll hold out the jury until we get to St. Pete. But I'm reminded of the car that Ryan Newman actually ran in the Coca-Cola 400, or whatever they call the final NASCAR race at Daytona last year, which was a Coke Zero Sugar car, which because it was a black Coca-Cola livery or logo on a red car, it was very difficult to read. So we'll see. Certainly in R Factor, it's easy to read, and maybe they'll you know, do some sort of fluorescent deal to get that Hyvee to pop. And I believe also this car is going to run 3 different liveries throughout the year. There's going to be a white Hyvee car, there's going to be a red one, and then there's going to be this black variant. Taken to the shank, it's Simon Pagenaud. This is not financial advice, but he is my early pick to win the Indy 500 this year. Again, kind of like Elio's car, just very, very subtle differences. And you've already seen this car if you watch my channel, because I was there when they were testing at Sebring. So the differences are the Arctic Wolf sponsorship, as well as the little bit of a zipper on the nose cone of the car. But outside of that, it is the same livery that we are so familiar with when Jack Harvey used to run it. And the final car in this DLC pack is the Juncos Hollinger Racing number 77 of Callum Ilott. Now, we've seen this car quite a bit because it's been testing at Sebring, I think, last year. I was not there, but there were certainly lots of pictures that surfaced of this car in this livery. And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they ran this livery at the end of last year, and it's fairly unchanged from the livery they ran last year. Now, towards the end of this thing, I'm sure you guys may be asking some questions. Where's Takuma Sato? Where's Jimmy Johnson? That's a great question. I don't know where they are. Maybe they couldn't get the licensing, and maybe they will add them later, maybe they won't add them at all. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. So that's the liveries. I'm going to try this out. And if I don't post a video on it, I'm sure I'll post my thoughts on the actual driving experience for the Indy cars in R Factor 2 over on my Twitter account. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, I guess, 2022 preview of IndyCar. And we'll see you in the next video.